Okay, so this is game 2 of Dekzeh against Alice. We're going to see Jinx lead from Dekzeh and Metagross lead from Alice. Jinx lead indicates offense typically, where Jinx is going to want to try and set up early, pressure things with Lovely Kiss, put something to sleep, and possibly follow Jinx up with Dugtrio and other special attackers, other offensive Pokemon that can pressure. Metagross League can just mean a huge amount of things, so I'm not going to speculate necessarily just yet. So this turn 1, Hidden Power from Jinx. It's interesting to me that Dekzeh is so comfortable pressing this early, because of course it means he loses Jinx. And it presumably means there's going to be a Dugtrio coming into revenge next turn. But the fact that Dekzeh is happy to take this trade of losing a Pokemon and then a Tempo, because Alice is going to be able to bring something in on Dugtrio afterwards to have a free turn, because it's going to be choice locked. That indicates to me that Dekzeh maybe isn't too comfortable against an aggressive Metagross of this team, or alternatively, he thinks, you know what, I think it's going to be hard for me to get Jinx in again later against offense, so I may as well just get my damage off while I can and just accept that this is not the matchup where Jinx is necessarily going to be the strongest. So there is the Dugtrio follow-up, and we're going to see a nice Earthquake kill. It's interesting to me that Alice pressed Rock Slide on turn 1 as opposed to Earthquake, because we can presume from the presence of Rock Slide and lack of leftovers that this is Choice Band Metagross. And obviously the merit of Rock Slide is that it's more accurate than Meteor Mash, but wouldn't you want to do the 100% accuracy Earthquake if you're playing around substitute fishing for misses? I guess the other thing to consider is Zapdos this early, as for a reason to why Alice rock slided, but I don't think that would be a typical turn 1 switch from Jinx to Zapdos. So anyway, Dug's down. We're going to see what Alice wants to follow up with here. Probably a Ground Immune. No, it's a Swampert. And the fact that Alice is choosing Swampert of all things to come in on a Choice Lock Dugtrio, which you typically want to send in something very offensive to, like a Breaker, well, this indicates that it's offensive perp, but I still don't necessarily love it here, because offensive perp can't pressure immediately early on, especially against your Jinx setups that are going to have probably Suicune, maybe Celebi. And there's a lot of comfortable Swampert switch-ins. So we're going to see what this Swampert wants to do. And that is a Focus Punch, which Dekzeh is going to switch a Zapdos into. I don't like that Focus Punch at all. I don't think there's much that Focus Punch is realistically going to catch. I don't think Dekzeh would ever go to a Blissey, for example, there if he even had Blissey. And I don't think there's anything else that Focus Punch would do more than just an Earthquake or a Hydro Pump to, per se. So we're going to see what Zapdos wants to do. It's obviously threatening with Hidden Power Grass or Toxic, so we can expect a switch from Alice to a Special Wall, which is presumably going to be Snorlax here, because we've seen Choice Band Metagross and offensive Swampert, so that lines up with the idea of physical offense with this Snorlax with the dual function of being a special wall and a physically pressurizing threat. So yeah, this Snorlax comes in, is immune to the Toxic, which is what Dekzeh elected to do, as opposed to pressing Hidden Power Grass. Doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't have it, maybe just that he doesn't want to reveal it just yet. So I think this is going to prompt a switch, because Zapdos trading into Snorlax, especially outside of Sand, is not optimal. And we'll probably see the normal resist here, possibly T-Tar, Metagross. Yeah, there's Metagross. And Body Slam is going to do 17, which doesn't tell us anything about either spread, really, other than Metagross has some bulk, but not a crazy amount. And we get paralysis, which is obviously very nice for Alice, because if it's Earthquake Lax, it can pressure Metagross, especially a non-choice band variant, which we now see that it is because it's gaining leftovers, of course. So Alice gets out to Swampert, which sort of favours the idea of her not having Earthquake. And that is a Psychic that does 41. 41 is an interesting amount of damage, because it shows the Swampert, even though it has Focus Punch, it's not necessarily rash or has no HP, because Psychic would be doing a lot more in the 50s, maybe, to that kind of rash Swampert. So we can assume the Swampert has some bulk of some kind, presumably to check Tyranitar and Aerodactyl. And it's a nice prediction as well, that Psychic, because obviously Psychic's not favourable into Lax. So we'll see what Swampert wants to do here. Maybe Hydro Pump. And yep, Dekzeh sees that, reveals Suicune, which is obviously going to come into Hydro Pump very comfortably. Interestingly, the presence of Zapdos and Suicune and his own Metagross, I sort of like the idea of Jinx staying in on that turn 1 a lot less now, because he's certainly not very weak to Choice Band Metagross as such, and I think Jinx could have another opportunity later on. Possibly if you prompt Swampert to Ice Beam, for example. So this is a really nice play from Dekzeh here. We're going to see a double into Metagross on the Lax from Coon, followed up by another really nice play of a Psychic that does 47 to Swampert. Now this higher amount of damage shows that it's not max HP. It's got some HP, but it's not max HP. So it's presumably somewhere in between. Maybe a Swampert that sacrifices a bit of speed for HP, doesn't necessarily prioritize being 219 speed. So Dekzeh can get out here. But I don't like going to Zapdos there, because Alice is in Torrent, and a Torrent Hydro Pump threatens Zapdos a lot, obviously doing 76 there. I think Suicune is very much the play there, especially since it's not going to take a huge amount from Earthquake, because no matter how offensive a Swampert is, it's never going to be particularly attack invested. And this Suicune that took relatively little from Hydro Pump shows that it has max HP. So obviously Dekzeh's threatening with HP Grass here, and he has Depressed if he does have it. And Alice is going to know that, conserve Swampert, and go into Lax. Now Lax is kind of dangerous here, because this is a mixed Metagross, which may struggle against some Lax sets. And that's a really nice play, a double to Swampert, giving it a little bit of leftovers, and an Earthquake before it goes down. And Metagross getting low is nice for Lax, obviously, but it's also nice for potential Rock-type attackers that Alice has in the back, like Aerodactyl. And we're going to see T-Tar as follow-up. And what seems like the intuitive play here for Dekzeh is to sack Metagross here, because obviously you don't want Tyranitar getting any kind of free Dragon Dance, and there's also a Dugtrio that's been revealed, and will be able to trap Tyranitar if needs be. But one thing to consider is that there is still this very healthy Snorlax, which could still be very strong against the Pokemon that Dekzeh has shown outside of this Metagross, because this Metagross appears to be his only normal resist. So there is potentially a case for switching out and going to Coon here. It depends though, you might want to conserve Coon's health for other potential physical attackers in the back. So we'll see what Dekzeh wants to do here. As Alice stays in and Fire Blasts, as Dekzeh lets the Metagross go down. So Snorlax is obviously in a very good position here. Metagross is down, the only physical attacker reveal that's left is Dugtrio. And I think we're going to see a trap follow-up from Dekzeh, removing T-Tar. Okay, Earthquake is just a straight one-hit KO, which shows that this T-Tar was, yet again, another aggressively EV'd mix Tyranitar, which reminds me of that one we saw in the first game that clearly didn't have any health from what it took from the Ninja's Silver Wind. So Alice has 3 mons down, but she's not necessarily at a disadvantage at all, because obviously she's got another tempo here on this Dugtrio Earthquake. She's got a very healthy Snorlax against this Zapdos and Suicune that aren't going to like facing Lax at all. As for Dekzeh's last, it could be quite a few things. So Celebi's a possibility as another special win condition. Mence is there as something that could be Intimidate, maybe even a Dragon Dance set. Or maybe Dekzeh wants a special wall of some kind, so possibly a Lax of his own, which could make sense. So we'll see what Alice wants to follow up with. Okay, so Alice is going in. Alice has a Heracross, and this Heracross is not gaining leftovers, which presumably means that it is a substitute Swords Dance Salak Berry set, which is interesting on a team with T-Tar, but I mean, it can work. And Dekzeh goes to Lax here, because he's seen this not gaining leftovers. Obviously, Zapdos is the intuitive play, because it's very low, it's not necessarily going to be able to do that much at this point. But what Dekzeh is concerned about is this substitute setup, Swords Dance, and he wants to go to Lax because Lax offers a boom, which means that Heracross can't go down to Salak range and Doug can follow up. So Dekzeh is playing very conservatively around the Heracross. I haven't quite calculated the exact sort of substitute and sand turns with Zapdos. Obviously, Zapdos is faster, but I think Dekzeh should have maybe considered going to Zapdos here. And yeah, there is the substitute on the switch. And we're going to see a Swords Dance into an Explosion as expected. And then we're going to see a Dugtrio follow-up. And the thing here is that Dugtrio obviously has to lock into Aerial Ace to kill Heracross. And there's a lot of potential things that could come in on Aerial Ace lock Dugtrio. I mean, Alice's last, which we haven't even talked about yet, could be quite a few things. Could be Zapdos, which would be amazing here. Could be Mence, which would be okay. Could be Aerodactyl, which would be pretty good as well. So we're going to see Doug lock into Aerial Ace. And then we're going to see what Alice wants to follow up with. So Alice chooses Lax. So as for what Dekzeh wants to do, So obviously nothing wants to switch in, but he would like to keep Dugtrio alive. Okay, so there is Coon, and Body Slam is doing 28. And at this point, having seen 5 members of Alice's team, we can assume that this Lax is max attack. From what it's shown, like a very aggressive Snorlax, because it's kind of a physical offense. And the fact that this max attack Snorlax is doing 28 with Body Slam to Coon indicates that the Coon is max HP, but doesn't have defense, which is worth noting. So it could be something like a substitute Calm mindset, or maybe one of these newer modest Rest Talk sets. Either way, this Coon is very much under pressure. It's paralyzed, it's weakened. It obviously can't 1v1 this Snorlax necessarily. So I'd say Alice is in a very, very good position right here. So there's body slam, and we're going to see rest from Dekzeh, which is nice. He's back up to full health. And we're going to see a couple more body slams while the coon is sleeping, presumably, to weaken it down and force it to rest again, and then do something else on the rest turn, possibly. Something to consider. So, yeah, there's 2 more body slams. And at this point, a lot depends on Alice's last, obviously, and what kind of state Alice's last needs the coon to be in order to win. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so Dekzeh chooses to go to Dugtrio on this turn, which presumably is predicting explosion, because if you manage to get the Lax to explode on Dugtrio, then Coon and Zapdos together have potential to defeat whatever this last is. Or at least more potential than a Dugtrio and Zapdos. And Alice curses on the rest. So we're going to see Earthquake, because that's all it can do, into a Body Slam, killing the dog. And that is a hugely influential critical hit, which really sucks for Alice. Which is very unfortunate, because Lax has to go down. So I guess we're going to see Alice's last here, and it is revealed to be an Aerodactyl. Obviously Aerodactyl is going to have to lock in. As for what you lock into, I think there is a very clear answer here at this point, and it is Rock Slide, because you haven't seen the Coon's water move. Obviously Surf from some Suicune spreads doesn't actually one-shot an Aerodactyl, but Hydro Pump will, and Surf from some spreads can also one-shot. So you Rock Slide and you play for a flinch, which unfortunately means you also have to risk a miss. So we're going to see what happens here. Oh no, Aero misses Rock Slide into a Surf, which doesn't kill. So 1 more chance for Alice. She can get a flinch and still have this game. Nope, she doesn't. So that's a really disappointing ending after getting ahead and pressuring a lot with Lax. The Dugtrio crit was unfortunate, but I will say that Alice did have a 100% win condition that she missed, which I'll explain now. So this Lax showed Curse, which means on this kind of offensive team without Magneton, there is almost certainly Curse Boom, which, of course, Dekzeh figured out. He was playing around. But if we go back, if you go back a few turns, Alice has a 100% win path that she can take. So on this turn here, that the Coon rests up, you can Body Slam. And then, the turn after that, whatever happens with Body Slam, either Body Slam one-shots a Dugtrio because this Lax is max attack, as a Curse Boom Lax has to be, or alternatively the Body Slam hits the Coon as it stays in and rests potentially, and brings it to somewhere in the very low 70s, which is enough through 2 sleep turns for Aerodactyl to kill. And of course, after that Body Slam, you boom on whatever comes in. And either that's a boom on Dugtrio, at which point Aero can lock into Double Edge, not risk a miss, and kill Coon and Zapdos. Or alternatively, the Coon stays in and you boom, and Arrow kills Dugtrio and Zapdos, obviously. So I think that was a 100% line that Alice unfortunately missed. I mean, of course, the luck was still terrible, but she did miss a 100% line to win. And Pokemon is a game of very fine margins, so this game 2 is going to go to Dekzeh.